A glimmer of hope for hundreds of thousands of Palestinians on the brink of starvation. The first aid ship carrying almost 200 tons of food is on its way to Gaza as part of a new maritime corridor. Now, the vessel departed from a port in Cyprus. Officials say its 320-kilometre voyage across the eastern Mediterranean could take up to 2 days. Its exact docking point has not been disclosed, but organisers say they are working on building a landing jetty in Gaza to unload the cargo. The ship, Open Arms, is pulling a barge loaded with rice, flour, legumes, canned vegetables and proteins. The World Central Kitchen, a US-based charity which is co-running the pilot project, says it has amassed another 500 tons of aid in Cyprus, ready for dispatch. But while humanitarian needs in Gaza approach breaking point, hopes for a ceasefire remain distant. Qatar says negotiators are not close to a deal, although efforts for a permanent truce still ongoing. Our food supplies are running increasingly short in Gaza as Muslims in the enclave mark the holy month of Ramadan. The UN estimates a quarter of the population are at risk of starvation and that current aid levels are not enough.
بنفتقد أحبابنا زوجي مش حيقعد معنا على السفرة. تاني حاجة غلاء الأسعار اللي هو اليوم حناكل طبعا وانتم يمكن شفتوا إنه كله معلبات. احنا صرنا نتسحر معلبات، نفطر معلبات، نتغدى معلبات، يعني اشي حتصعب جدا لنا. يعني بطبيعة الأحوال كنا بغزة إنه أول يوم رمضان كنا ناكل الملوخية والدجاج. هلأ للأسف صرنا بازيلا معلبات، فاصوليا معلبات، حمص معلبات. يعني الوضع سيء. رمضان غير رمضان.
For more, Sarah Coates joins us live from Jerusalem. Sarah, with no functioning ports currently in Gaza, questions must remain about the progress of the naval mission.
Certainly, Jill, there's a whole lot of hope really being pinned on this pilot mission, with the Open Arms finally making its way a few hours ago after being held up in that port in Larnaca for a couple of days due to reported technical difficulties. We do know that on board this ship there is around 200 tons of aid. It is also towing behind it another little boat, a tugboat of sorts, and this is carrying flour, rice and other proteins, we are told. Certainly expected to take around 2 days. The journey is around 320 kilometres long. The ship has been inspected by Israeli forces and has been, as I said, given the go-ahead to begin its journey. But you mentioned questions there, and the big one is what actually happens to this ship when it reaches Gaza, given there are no operating ports in Gaza right now. All of them have been destroyed. But we have heard from the World Central Kitchen, the organisation that's really running all of this, that it is now using debris, rubble from a number of these very many destroyed buildings in the Gaza Strip to create a temporary port off Gaza, but still remains unclear that when this aid actually hits this temporary port, when, of course, it is built, is to how it would actually be distributed. Jill.
Can we talk about the negotiations next? Qatar seemingly downplaying hopes for an imminent ceasefire. What are the main sticking points, Sarah, obstructing this deal?
Very much downplaying these talks. We do have a statement from Qatar's foreign ministry. It says we are not close to achieving a ceasefire agreement, but we are optimistic. And certainly both of these sides, Israel and Hamas, continue to trade blame against one another for a lack of a deal. Hamas said a little earlier today that it is willing to strike a deal if Israel meets its demands. But these are really demands that Israel would not be expected to meet, as we've heard from the Prime Minister. One of these being allowing men of fighting age back into the northern parts of the Gaza Strip. And the other major sticking point that we've been speaking about is the end to this war. Hamas wants guarantees in this ceasefire agreement that Israel will put an end to the war. But this is what we've been hearing time and time again from Netanyahu. He says that absolutely won't happen, and we will not leave this war. We will and leave Hamas rather in power. So this is certainly the big sticking point there. Another one from Israel's side is it wants Hamas to hand over a list of captives that do remain alive. But Hamas says this is basically impossible to do right now, given Israel's bombing campaign and given the fact that it doesn't know where all of these hostages are and whether they are alive. So it certainly seems as though no movement, certainly very disappointing, of course, to the people down in the Gaza Strip who so desperately need a ceasefire, and also to these family members of hostages who basically have no information about their welfare or their whereabouts.
Thanks, Sarah. Sarah Coates reporting to us from Jerusalem.